Hello, everybody. We're back at the commentary desk with Luke Withington.
Hey.
I've been behind the replay machine myself, the highlight machine. Sorry, not allowed to call it the replay machine.
Yeah.
Basically, there was a lot of stuff that happened in that game.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff that didn't happen in that game.
Yeah.
I mean, were you disappointed?
I was really sad.
Really sad?
I'm genuinely sad.
Just upset? Just a tear?
Yeah.
Tear? Just like...
Yeah. Kind of wibbled at the bottom, yeah.
Yeah, it always does.
I was expecting that deck to kind of really blow us away, and
it just didn't do it.
It just didn't happen.
Well, I did get a couple of bits and bobs of highlights just so that we could see kind of what happened there.
Can relive my sadness. Thanks.
You're welcome. Going to highlight number 1, and this is just the opening hands of game 1. I've got both of them in there now. You were saying what did you think about the opening hands and where they could really go from here? Because it didn't really seem that either player had a massively good start.
No, so the Shaddoll player opened double effect veil, which isn't great against Qliphort because you can't really use effect veiler at all against them because of their effects that stop them being affected by monster effects lower than them and ranks lower than them. So effect veil is pretty much useless. I still had hope at the point where we saw these opening hands because Marcello, he had a trade in. He had an Into the Void, and I was like, okay, cool, he's going to get going, he's going to show us really what's happening, but then, yeah, it
just didn't happen.
Yeah,
Nothing happened.
We can move on to the...
we'll move on to highlight number 2, which is actually the end of game 1.
Yeah, so we got to this point where Marcello had already discarded his whole hand, but managed to recover because of a scout. But at this point, he didn't really have anything to combat this Regeki because he'd taken so much damage already just from Squamata attacking over and over again because he had nothing.
Well, it was a nice little thing, and you were talking. I wasn't actually able to get the highlight, but you were talking about how important it is to be able to play Vanity's Emptiness at the right time.
Yeah, that was quite key. So I think especially when the game state's open in main phase 1, the turn player is allowed to do anything they want. Their opponent can't just randomly react. When it's an open game state, they get the first move. So it's really key to try and play Vanity's Emptiness when your opponent resolves effects at a certain time to try and get it just before your opponent might take advantage of that open game state and summon use their pendulum summon.
So you definitely want to do it when Scout resolves. You want to make sure that the card hits the hand, but they don't get the chance to summon it. And then he had to normal summon it, meaning that he couldn't get his trampling because he couldn't get his search.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's go into, well, game 2 didn't happen, as we know, but let's go into game 3 with highlight number 3. Now, this is quite a little long one. It's essentially because Marcello spent a lot of time looking at his hand and going, what do I do? Now, this is just after he's played Into the Void, and we look at his hand, and we all know there is nothing he can now do. And Aaron's like, well, I'll just play Shaddoll Fusion. Play
just in case,
play into Shekanaga, and now I know you definitely aren't going to be doing anything.
Yeah. So Marcello had just really small pendulum scales, both Trampolinix and Monolith are the low end of the pendulum scales that you want to play in the Qliphort deck, and double Majesty's Fiend. I was saying to Matt just now when we were commentating the game that if he'd have managed to get that Majesty's Fiend out against Shaddoll, it's really, really powerful because they rely a hell of a lot on monster effects, and that would have even possibly closed the game out just summoning that Majesty's Fiend. But yeah, as you say, here we're looking at Marcello, just look at his hand and think, wow, that Into the Void's going to hurt me in the end phase. Not pleasant.
So it's literally, he discards his entire hand in a moment in here as well. He puts down the Monolith eventually, after thinking, what do I really want to say from this hand?
I think he put the Trampoline.
Oh, he was the Trampoline, sorry.
Yeah.
And then he just puts the rest in the graveyard. And at that point, it's like, I've lost. Like, there's nothing I can do here. And for somebody who, I believe he won YCS London in 2014, so very, very recently, and to go from that to
quite a risky deck choice.
That just didn't do anything in this situation. I mean, I guess it's what you get when you play an all or nothing deck.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Marcello play, and I've played a lot with him and play tested with him before YCS Bochum, and he's very, very good. And he was pointing out a load of stuff that I'd just not even seen, and it's just it must have been a very snap decision on his part to play this deck, but it must have just been this was the one round. Quite a lot you'll see people just have one round where they have really bad luck.
Nothing, yeah.
Yeah, and that's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately.
And the last final highlight number 4, is just the last attack, basically, where
Yeah,
he's just counting desperately to go, am I dead? I'd like not to be dead, kind of thing, but in the end...
I definitely just lost all of my life points.
Yep, and then in the end, he just offers his hand.
Yeah, in fact, it's exactly 4-2. Because of the Qliphort shell, it reduces the attack of all the monsters by 300, and it would have been 500s.
So shell was a nice little touch to try and say, I could survive, but then it just didn't work out.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that as soon as I saw Thunder King summoned, I was like, oh, okay, yep.
But as we say, we're saying, very negatively that his deck didn't really do much. But again, Aaron played quite admirably.
Yeah.
Like, he did really, really well. He knew exactly what he was doing.
He just did everything that needed to be done. That's pretty much it.
Now, that is everything for our analysis of the game and our highlights here. Now, we are actually going to switch over to an interview exclusively with Oliver Gurman and Peter Frottier.
Yeah.